Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode. Were you gonna do the introduction?
No, you do it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Racing Show here at RacePlazaMedia. My name is Pia.
And I am Milan.
Yes. And today we're going to talk about racing news that we've come across this week that we wanted to bring up to each other. Honestly, today we have no idea what the other person has prepared, so we're kind of going into it blind.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to find out, what have you come across this week in racing news? Do you want to start us off?
Yes. Okay. So I can start us off with, I saw that so Cadillac has their own like World Endurance Championship car, and they also are part of the IMSA. So there's apparently major changes coming up for their 2025 car because they're separating most likely from their partner company.
Ooh.
And so apparently there's huge upgrades coming to the car, which is really awesome because they already did quite well last year. I think they won the 12-hour Sebring last year. So there's major upgrades coming to that. And then I believe also next year we're going to get the first hypercar Aston Martin.
Ooh.
It's the Aston Martin Valkyrie. They've originally announced that they're going to introduce a hypercar back in 2021.
Okay.
But then things were pushed back. So I think it will be very exciting for this So next year.
Oh, so for 2025 already.
For 2025.
Nice.
So Cadillac is already part of it, right?
Yes, yeah.
But so Aston Martin will be joining the WEC. And then this year
But probably in the hypercar category, not because they're in the GT
they're
categories
in the regular,
already.
Sorry
Okay.
to clarify. So they're joining now the hypercar category, and then
Nice.
for Cadillac, apparently they're bringing major upgrades. They're only going to be running 2 cars now from here on out, so I don't know.
Okay.
So it seems like they're only going to run 2 cars, so I don't know if that means they're not going to do any other category besides hypercar. They didn't specify that, but I was like, oh, that's really interesting, and it's cool, especially because this year we have already, Alpine in there, BMW.
Yes.
So it's really cool that we're getting more manufacturers. Of course, I want to see the Porsche
Yes.
on the top step, but I think it's really awesome because it just makes it more competitive, because a lot of times you see the Porsche, Ferrari. So it'll be nice to change it up.
I agree. I'm all for nice, fun competition or more different manufacturers competing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's nice. That's great news.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'll kick it off with some other racing news then. So one of the things that I read, which had been announced previously last year, but the first race is coming up on April 27th. And so it's...
Sorry, for what?
That's what I'm getting into now.
Oh, okay.
I'm setting
I was like, what is the first race?
I was just setting up the scene. So there's something coming. And so apparently Abu Dhabi has founded their very own autonomous racing league. So the first race will happen April 27th. What are you thinking?
Wait, so there's no driver?
Correct.
Okay, I have my opinions already.
Okay, so let me give you some more information on it, and then you can tell me what you think. So it's going to be, the first race is going to be at the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi, which we all know the Yas Marina circuit. So many races happen there. So very familiar racetrack. So they're going to be using super formula cars. Okay. So from the Japanese single-seater league. So their top speed is, I think, 185. So those are going to be the vehicles with the new Dallara chassis, which people apparently, according to the article, are very excited about.
The Dallara chassis is also used.
Oh my God, I said chassis again.
I have this thing in my videos. I say always horsepowers.
Yes.
And I'm like, it's not powers. It's not powers. I don't know what. But the Dallara chassis is also used. I just did a video about this.
It's one of the formulas. The other formulas they use it as well. But so it looks very much like a Formula One car. Of course, it's like a single seater super formula.
IndyCar.
Okay, gotcha.
They use a Dallara.
Nice. I know one of the other formulas. I think it's Formula 2 maybe, or is it? I think it's Formula 2 that also uses the Dallara
maybe
chassis.
that's like their thing. Which is like similar shape all around.
Yeah. So it's a 4-cylinder engine that they're going to be using, and so the competition is or has been created. There's going to be led by, of course, developers, scientists, and coders are going to be integral to the teams, of course, behind it. So essentially, the teams are given the vehicle, from what I understand. Like they're all like one make competition, of course, and then they get like this basic program that the car runs with, and then they use that as the like an even starting ground, and then they build up code from it. So once the car starts the race, once the engine kicks off, hands off. So the car has to drive automatically. It's equipped with, of course, several cameras, lots of sensors and radars and stuff like that. So interesting.
Okay, so I know that in the Goodwood Racing Festival, where
I remember you watching it.
Where you guys can check that out on YouTube. It's very, very cool. They do this yearly, and essentially they do like a sprint shootout, and they had an autonomous car there too. And I will say, and so I think it's actually, this is kind of the thing where, like, of course, all the technology that is developed there then will translate eventually, I'm assuming, into consumer cars,
Yes,
right?
I'll get into that in a second as
However, I can already tell you, I don't like it. Because my thing is, I want to see humans race and the humans do their thing. And like, if there's nothing, like, no one racing, then it's like, I don't know. It's I don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't want to be a hater, and I like the idea of using it because, like, of course, like Tesla, Mercedes, and all of stuff like that. They started implementing autopilots and stuff like that, and I get it. But I like to drive.
Yes.
I don't ever want someone else to drive on my behalf. You know. And if it is, it's a person.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I
and
hear that.
when it comes to racing, I want to see people race and not AI race. I will say I think it would be interesting to check it out because I could assume it might be really messy in the beginning.
That's what I'm kind of excited about, Loki, that it will be a little bit messy at first. So just seeing like the learning curve. And that would be the one thing that would potentially make it exciting, because usually the human factor is the exciting part. Or part of it,
of
at
course,
least.
because human error and stuff like that.
Exactly, but it's also like the personalities,
of course,
and stuff. So it also depends on how they build it up in the media. If maybe the teams are going to be like the representatives of it. But so the basic idea is also, of course, for the technology to help develop the technology. Not just, I mean, because it's going to be AI included in it, of course.
Of course, yeah.
So it's not just technology for like speeding or racing and stuff like that, but the idea is twofold. One, to improve safety technology for regular driving, and then also their idea apparently is to make people more comfortable with autonomous driving, so they can see it high speed on a motorsport where cars are overtaking one another all by themselves, so people can see it in action, so they might be more inclined to try it themselves. Not that they don't want to replace drivers fully in the real world even, but they want people to slowly become more comfortable with autonomous driving and stuff like that.
Yeah, so as I said, like, I understand what the reasoning is. I'm not a fan. I don't think, I mean, who knows, fast forward 40 years, throw this video in my face, right? but I'm not, like, I like driving, you know. I, even in LA where traffic sucks, you know, I prefer to be the one driving. Higher speeds, I think I'm like, human failure, obviously very common, everyone knows that, but like, I don't know, I just don't like it. Like, I understand the reasoning behind it and stuff like that. I just don't want it. I want people to be racing.
No, I agree. You know? I agree.
I definitely tune in for a little bit, but just to check it out.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, overall, I just thought it was something interesting.
Very interesting.
I didn't know that that was, I mean, it makes sense that it's coming. It's happening a little sooner than I expected, especially on such a big level. Driving the Super Formula car on a Yas Marina track and stuff like that. So it definitely was a little bit of a surprise. And like you said, I would be curious to tune in, but at this moment, I'd be doubtful that it would be an immediate, like, crowd pleaser, have millions of followers, or it would be maybe millions of followers because they're curious, but not because they're, like, honestly excited for autonomous racing.
Yeah, I mean, in that Goodwood Racing, where I saw the autonomous sprint, a lot of people in the comments were like, I don't want to watch that. I want to watch a person doing this, you know?
And I mean, I get that there's still people behind it and
Yes.
people obviously putting in the code and scientists and all that stuff. So there's still lots of people working on it, but there's still that essential element of the
human
driver.
you know?
Yeah, exactly. Missing. So yeah, but I thought I'd bring it up because it is
It's
racing
very
related.
interesting. Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to the next thing. This one I thought was quite interesting and quite relevant, and I think you might have this one too.
Oh,
but
interesting.
next. So Michael Mosiman will be joining this very weekend the 250 SX Yamaha Star Racing team for AMA Super.
Oh, wait.
Cross.
Who's joining?
Michael Mosiman.
Okay. I did
don't
not
know how to pronounce that, but he will be. So he is officially. He's the number 76 and has joined the team for the remainder of the 250 SX West Regional Championship. Sorry, is it this week the West Coast?
I think so. I think they're coming.
Okay.
Are they coming to Seattle this weekend?
Oh, we're gonna get Joe back and the boys.
I think
and
so.
Levi.
If I'm not mistaken.
Hell yeah, I missed the West Coast dude.
Yeah, no. I mean, because there are like OGs. I
There
feel like
are
'cause
OGs,
those were the
you
ones
know.
we were introduced to. Those were the ones we saw,
Mhm.
like live racing.
Yes.
So, is there a reason why he's joining now?
Sorry. So I believe I don't know if they're just adding him to it because I believe everyone who is dropping out of the championship due to injury is on the east side.
Yeah, so far it's been a lot of East Coast dropouts.
So yes, so we have Austin Faulkner out. Then the other gentleman who got hit by Hayden Deacon.
Cody Schock is out now.
Yeah, so those are all east.
Then I think
Coast
Dylan Ferrandis, I don't think is racing this weekend.
Yeah. Okay, so he's
450,
450,
yeah, but he's out this weekend because of illness. I don't think it's an injury, but he's just under the weather, I guess, or severely under the weather. Because I doubt he would miss a race if he felt capable of riding.
No, they're just throwing. Yeah, in Seattle. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
they're just throwing him in there.
Nice.
They think that he can be competitive and that he's fast. Of course, they know it's difficult because it's kind of mid-season.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
he's not really competing for the championship,
No,
I'd say.
But maybe get his feet.
But some
wet.
experience.
Yeah,
I'm sure
absolutely.
there's great experience to be gained from competing regardless.
But I was surprised because we had, maybe he's filling the spot for the Spanish driver that left.
Oh, yes.
I forgot.
Prado,
yeah. Prado. I don't know if he was Yamaha, and Monster Energy Yamaha. I don't know on top of my head.
I don't know either off the top of my head.
I'm very surprised how flexible that is. Like, we're just gonna add a racer to the lineup.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I saw that.
I think it's as long as it's not exceeding the overall numbers. I wouldn't see. I guess why not?
Yeah,
so that's awesome.
When I came across it, I was like, that is awesome. I'm
Yeah.
excited. We're big AMA Supercross fans here on the channel. So I'm very excited to see him tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, today. Sorry. The video is coming out today.
Well,
For us,
when the
it's
video
Friday.
comes out today. So, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, really, really exciting.
Nice.
I'm surprised that you didn't know that.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I missed that news.
Well, that's what I'm here for.
There you go. So now we know. So I have, I guess, two more things.
Yeah, I have like two smaller things also.
So I mean, one is the smaller thing, so I'll just bring that up first. So that's MotoGP related.
Okay, interesting.
Yes. So because I mean, when I look for, I mean, a lot of the news that comes across my desk or my phone really is F1 related.
Yes, I try to stay away from it too much.
Exactly.
Well.
So I mean, the last point that I'm going to bring up is F1 related.
Same.
But I did want to bring up something else besides the Autonomous Racing League, which has nothing to do with anything that we've been watching so far. So next one is MotoGP, because we watched our first race, of course, last weekend in Qatar. Which was really interesting. I'm excited to see more of the races. And so now I guess I'm a little familiar with some of the names. And then so one of the articles that I read was about Jorge Martin. So he had won the sprint race in Qatar, and then he had placed third on during the feature race or the main event, right? So he's highly competitive. Jorge, yes, one of the competitors, commentators likes to say. Jorge Martin. But what I was going to say is, so, obviously he did really well in Qatar this weekend. phones on silent, please.
It is technically it's on vibrate.
Oh yeah, well,
sorry.
So he did really well this past weekend, and then during the weekend we also found out that he was very successful the previous season, where he was competing for the championship title, but then I guess in the last race he had a crash, so he ended up losing it. So as I said, he's doing really well this season already. I mean, for the first race, he did mention in the post-race interview and the sprint race interview that there's still some issues with the car.
What is he on, a Ducati?
No. So that's what I figured out, which I didn't know. So please, guys, forgive me. I'm very new.
Yeah, we're both.
We're both very new to MotoGP. It's our first season. We watched our first race and sprint this weekend. But he's not on a manufacturer bike. So he's part of...
It's a Lego bike?
He's part of the Pramac team.
Okay.
And so they're essentially, from what I gathered in the article, is they're considered more of a junior MotoGP team. So
he's that competitive?
Yeah, that's what I was shocked about.
Oh, that's awesome. That's kind of like ANSI for Supercross.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's a good analogy. But basically,
so yeah. Pay me the top dollars around here.
Nothing. So he's highly competitive in like a non-manufacturer bike, but there's talks now, and apparently there have been talks for a little bit now, but they're getting more concrete that this will be his last season with the junior team.
He's gonna go to a bigger team
because he needs to just take it to the next level. Yeah. But I was absolutely baffled when I found out that he's been so highly competitive with a quote-unquote junior team. So there's talks about if he's going to go to Ducati next year, if he's going to go to KTM or Urbula. So we will see, but I think it's so cool that he is able to be as competitive as he is.
I mean, I hope that this maybe brings that team more sponsors, more money, and then also like imagine what he could do on a high, like a senior bike.
Exactly, because they were also saying, because he had also complained that there was a lot of vibration and a lot of shaking, especially in his
porpoising.
Like different, yeah.
I don't know.
So he was saying that he was having lots of issues even during the sprint race. He said like he was barely able to finish it. That's how difficult it was to ride it. So they were saying that he probably rode very conservatively during the main event race. That's why he wasn't quite as competitive, because they were nervous about the issues that he had voiced. They became better during the main event race, but they thought that he was driving more conservatively just to save the tire and be more cautious of the vibrating and whatnot. So
I think it makes sense, but also hoping now that they have like the data and stuff like that from a main race, they're able to like over the next couple of weeks able to like iron out the
but apparently they've had those issues also in the preseason testings. So they've been working on it, but they haven't quite figured out the solution yet.
Okay, that sucks.
But yeah, so I thought this was some very little news, because we obviously don't know yet exactly where he's going. But I thought as a new fan, it was so interesting how well he's doing, considering he's not on a manufacturer bike.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So the thing that I want to say before going into, I guess, like F1. So apparently the owner of Maclaren, which like there's, I guess, one guy that owns the majority of it, he's actually planning on selling. So I don't know. So apparently Maclaren has been struggling with like financials. Also like before the pandemic, he kind of took over, I think. And then they've been struggling and stuff like that. So he had to put more and more money into it. And now apparently he's kind of like got his bankers together and they're like, you know, I'm done with it. So I don't know what that will mean to all of their like racing teams, because McLaren is not only Formula One.
No, they have racing all kinds of different racing.
Exactly. So I hope maybe like a bunch of people will come together. Maybe some like celebrities come together, like Alpine or something like that.
Literally what I was thinking, that there's going to be a bunch of celebrities joining together.
I don't know.
Potentially.
Is it Alpine? Did they only Alpine? I don't know. Did they only come together for the F1 team, or is it overall everything that they do?
I thought it was for everything, for racing in general, not just the F1 team, if I'm not mistaken. But correct us if we're wrong in the comments, or let us know. But I had thought it was for Alpine motorsport, essentially.
Yeah, I was very surprised to hear that McLaren is struggling so much financially.
Yeah.
I'm obviously not someone who's out there shopping for one, so I'm not the customer base and not something
Not
ever
at all.
thought about.
Yeah.
Um,
But also, to be fair, McLaren is not on the list of cars that I would purchase if I like have
the money?
once I not if once
or
I
when,
have
yeah.
the money. McLaren is not necessarily on the top of my list.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm not around it.
Mhm.
Like, of course, like a Porsche or a Porsche
Mhm.
would be like one of my top.
Porsche, Ferrari.
Porsche, Ferrari, yeah, like
Mhm.
those would be my top choices. I don't know, is it maybe because I don't know many McLarens. I've seen them,
Mhm.
but I'm like, oh, okay, it looks like a
Yeah, I guess, but also us growing up, we've always been surrounded more around German cars.
or European cars. Yeah.
I mean, McLaren technically.
Oh, that's
yeah.
true.
Yeah, no.
Bad. Yeah, that's
It's okay.
little lapse there.
It's okay. They're not part of the EU anymore.
Oh,
Okay,
that
got
is
rid of
actually
them. Oh, they left. Okay, so
Let's move on.
tough subject for
Yeah.
everyone. But yeah, so we grew up in the city where like Porsche and Mercedes is from.
Literally built.
Literally
Yeah.
built. Like, so we're from Stuttgart. So that is the cars that we've always been surrounded
Yes.
with, right? We went to like the car shows or how does it called? The Messe?
Yeah, like a convention like a
And
car.
stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So it was always a lot of German cars, like Maybach,
Yeah.
Porsche, all that stuff, right? But yeah, so they were never on my radar. But also, like, once again, I'm not obviously one of their customers.
No.
So I didn't realize that. I hope obviously they're able to turn it around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hopefully I'll get some investors. I doubt it would impact the F1 team because that is the team they've been doing in recent history so much better than they've done for a long time.
Yeah, they've been improving quite a bit, and I'm excited to watch them this season.
And I really hope it will pay off for Lando because Homeboy has put all his hope and faith and
know.
dreams into it.
Yes.
And I really hope it pays off for him.
I mean, he's the center of our bingo board because we want his maiden win to happen this season.
Yeah.
It's very wishful thinking.
yeah, honestly,
at this point.
honestly,
but
at the beginning of the season, I was like, he's gonna get it. He's gonna get it. And now I'm like, especially because both M teams, McLaren and
Yeah.
Mercedes, are struggling. Like,
yeah, that's true. Well, since we're already transitioning to Formula One, we might as well get started into talking it.
yeah,
I had, I guess the main thing that I was going to talk about is where the driver's going in next
Interesting.
year potentially, because I feel like there's so much talk about it. Yes, of course, it's all rumors and speculations and stuff. Of course, there's the big talk about Max Verstappen. Where's he gonna go?
He's gonna stay. There's no way he's leaving Red Bull. That's stupid.
So yeah, so people are either in the camp of like, oh yeah, no, he's never gonna leave Red Bull, especially not before 2026, which I agree.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's never leaving Red Bull. I'm
Yeah.
just saying he's not leaving before 2026.
Yeah, but then people are like dissecting his interviews and how at first, after the first race, he was like very, and then also Christian Horner was like very like, oh yeah, Max is staying, and then after the Jeddah race, things are like, well, it really like it's just like about where he's happy, and so the language has been changing, so people are a little bit more excited about different speculations.
What the internet is jumping to conclusions.
What?
That is unheard of.
But I thought some of the points were interesting that they made, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. But he's not the only driver I want to talk about.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about that too.
Okay, so for him specifically, what I wanted to say, so people have been speculating from the get-go, since we knew that Lewis was leaving, that maybe he will go to Mercedes, especially considering, which I didn't know, that Toto had tried to get him once before in 2014 when he had done really well during the European F3 Championship.
Interesting.
So that was the time when he wanted to get him, but he couldn't give him an F1 seat immediately, and Red Bull did. So that's why he ended up going with Red Bull. I mean, that's like a very summarized version of whatever went down.
Yeah.
So a lot more went into it, of course. But so that was interesting. I didn't know that he technically had a history with Mercedes, which I thought was interesting. But then people, of course, also say, well, Toto has been saying about, I think it's Antonelli.
Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah, that he might be coming and getting the seat. But then, of course, also his F2 season, which is a rookie season, has started off a smidgen bumpy.
I mean, he actually did backpedal this week, Toto, on the Kimi comments, because, like, first of all, he jumped F3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's unrealistic to assume. I think he needs to do another season
Yes.
of F2 and
Mm-hmm.
then potentially join F1 or whatever.
And then he would, well, I think it would make more sense a lot of times that he would probably join Williams first,
Mm-hmm.
as many other drivers. So they were also talking about, of course, Ollie Behrman, because he did so well last weekend. But then they're talking about him being in Haas next year, getting the Haas seat instead of course, I mean, he's a Ferrari Academy driver.
Yeah, but it's Haas Ferrari technically.
Exactly. So that's why they're saying, well, he's going to get the Haas seat first, because of course both Ferrari seats are
Who's
taken.
leaving Haas?
Well, so they were thinking, do you have a guess who do you think he would, I mean, based on all these theories. So, I mean, everything is with a grain, lots of salt.
I want to say, based on his performance last year, maybe Magnussen.
Yes.
I would be sad because I do like him,
and especially last week's performance was such a team player, such a strong performance, really well driven as well.
Yeah, he really held down the fort there. I would also love to see maybe Nico in a better team, but I think it's very hard for him because he is already older.
Yeah.
You know? So I would hate to see, but of course people have to leave in order for the rookies to come in. But one thing that I wanted to say about this whole Behrman situation, I feel almost so bad. Like you were brought this up that the Alpine reserve driver, James Donahue?
Oh no, Jack
Donahue. I'm so sorry. So that they were talking in front of him and stuff like that. But I'm thinking, like, what about Liam Lawson? He did so well, and we're all forgot about him.
No, we didn't forget about him.
But I mean, like, he's also a rookie who should, get a chance because he killed it last year. And then we're all getting so hyped up in Oliver's, situation. And I'm not saying I don't want him to come. Like, I want rookies to come in, right? I think there's a few drivers on the grid where I'm like, listen, you've had your time, and I think you did okay. How about you
make way for somebody
make way for someone else, not to be a jerk.
No, but I mean, there's also only 20 seats available,
especially if they're unwilling to add an extra team to it. The F1 specifically, not the FIA.
Yeah. So I mean, so I thought that was interesting. Okay, and of course, okay. So what we were saying is. Ollie maybe to Haas, and then eventually Antonelli will either be I'm mixing English and German right now. He would potentially go to Williams first and then Mercedes. So maybe Verstappen has a place at Mercedes for a year or two, but I mean he probably would want to stay longer. But then there's also talks, of course, that he wants to do something else. Like he never said that he wanted to do like the 7 world championships like Lewis did, because that's not what he wants. He has other interests that he wants to do. But so then people were theorizing if maybe he would join Aston Martin.
Yes. So I think isn't Alonso like really like trying to get that done? I think doesn't he want to drive with Max?
Well, the theory that I read, at least, was that Alonso maybe retires and then Max will get that seat. Because, I mean, do you think Lance will lose his spot? His dad won't have him race anymore?
I don't know, because there's talks that his dad is looking into selling, right? And if his dad sells, right? At least that was like also the preseason talk and stuff like that. If his dad sells, then I don't think Lance has a seat. Let's be real, right?
Yeah,
he's not gonna get a seat at Aston Martin at least.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
That's not a thing. He's not as competitive as he needs to be. The reason, first of all, I don't want Alonso to leave. Okay, I want him to drive until he's 79.
Yes.
Okay,
I want to see him do his dance again.
But also, the thing about it is like I say this, and I say I don't want Alonso to leave when I just said I want rookies to get their turn, right? But the thing about this is why I'm still want Alonso there is because Alonso is still so freaking competitive. Alonso is still getting podiums, and I mean, imagine, like, I'm not saying he could, right? Yeah. But imagine him in a car that could actually win. I think he could do some serious damage.
I
right?
think so too. I think
He
it would
could
be
do
so.
some.
I mean, he's so fun to watch,
Yeah.
and also to like he's so smart driving, planning his own strategy, planning others' strategy,
Watching the TV
like
at
watching
the
the
same.
TV, what's happening. So I
He
mean,
might
he's
be on TikTok while he's driving. Who knows?
who
It's
knows?
Alonso. He does what he wants, right? But
Literally.
I will say though, I think whenever Alonso is leaving
Mhm.
F1, like definitely because like
Mhm.
he's left and come back.
Yeah.
First of all, he's not gonna come back, right? Because he's in his 40s. Right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if we will then see him in like Le Mans.
Oh, for sure.
Because I know he also said he wants to do Le Mans with Max, and I'm tuning in for that race.
I mean, Max has already done done endurance iRacing before,
yeah,
so
of course,
I could.
but I mean, he can't right now, obviously,
Yeah.
race. But Max said he doesn't want to. I don't think Max is necessarily opposed to doing 7 world championships, right,
Mhm.
or winning 7 world championships. But I think he said he doesn't want to race in F1 until he's like in his 40s. Or
Yes.
whatever,
Oh
right?
no, of
He
course.
doesn't like. And how does Max 25, 26?
Something around that, I think. Yeah.
They're all in my mind. They're all 20.
Yeah.
but that's not true. I think they're older now.
Yeah, no,
I
they
think that's
they
how it
age.
works,
That's how it
right?
works. Yeah. Well, but the people are also saying the people of the internet
Mhm.
also said that they're theorizing about Max leaving Red Bull is because most, or if not all, or a lot of the previous champions have left their teams to try at least and find success with other teams.
Mhm.
Like Lewis Hamilton went from McLaren, which he won his first championship, to Mercedes. Michael Schumacher from Benetton to Ferrari. Even Fernando Alonso left Renault after his success there. So like there's a history of
Doing that.
successful drivers trying to maybe find a different challenge and going to a different car, a different team,
I mean,
and stuff.
Vettel went to Ferrari, right? And
Exactly.
He's the one that got the closest to winning a
Yeah.
championship in most recent year in Ferrari. Yeah, I mean, I think no one will know.
Oh, for sure.
I think what I would like to see Valtteri sign with Audi because Valtteri does have the potential. We all know he's a great driver. He's just been in a garbage car for like the last 3 years.
Yes, and that was the other driver that I was going to talk about because he had done an interview recently where he also talked about, which I was so happy to hear, that he wants to stay in F1 as
long as he can.
Of course, yes, yeah. I mean, of course, every driver wants to stay and be there for a long time. But I don't know. It's just nice to hear that he intends to stay long if he can, and then also he wants to be in a more competitive car, of course, because I mean it's been tough. He was so successful, of course, with Mercedes for so long. Like yes, he was the second driver, but he still had his own successes, including of course the team successes. But so his plan now is to get a deal with
Audi.
Sauber/Audi, which Audi now bought out the full stakes for Sauber.
I really want them to show up and just like
Yes.
put down the hammer and be like, listen,
Oof.
we're here. Like the chances that will happen is slim.
Yeah,
let's be real. Let's be real, right? But I would love to just them
Yes.
coming in and be like, let me just mix up this whole stuff,
Yes,
right?
I agree.
Let me just come in here and just like rule. I don't want this another Red Bull situation, right? I don't.
No,
right?
no,
I just
no.
want them to come in and not struggle.
Yes.
You know, that's my. And then I would like to see Sainz there, maybe Bottas. They're both great drivers.
Oof, yes. But then I was thinking, so imagine, I think it's fairly realistic to assume that maybe it will be a Sainz-Bottas duo. But then I also felt bad because I felt like Bottas would be the number 2 driver again.
I don't agree with that.
No?
Because I don't think, because we know both of them can win, right?
Oh, 1,000%.
I think they will probably do the whole like what Ferrari is doing. Neither of these guys are my number 1 driver, but Charles is. You know?
Yeah.
But I don't think so because I don't think Sainz is very, very good, right? But I don't know if they're oh god, I don't want to say it. But I don't think it's a clear thing where like Sainz will be the number 1 and he will be number 2 because Valtteri has shown in the past.
Yes.
right? He has won multiple races,
Mm-hmm.
and he is very good at what he does, right? He
Mm-hmm.
can get on the pole, he can qualify for pole
Yes.
position, all this stuff. So I don't think this is like a thing where Sainz will just run in here and then just take over. I think this will it will go where they're gonna be like, we're not gonna say who our number one guy is, and then they'll show it on the grid. But I think it would also be interesting because, first of all, you don't really hear a lot from Valtteri. Because, first of all, the team is, when you hear something from Kick right now or Alfa Romeo, there's always problems and stuff like that. You don't really get a lot of positive press.
Unless that he's now, I feel like, considered an Australian citizen with the Melbourne ad posters.
Yeah, and the only thing is also, like, I'm really happy that it seems like Bottas is much happier. He was very unhappy at Mercedes. It's not a secret.
No, yeah.
There's a lot of people very upset the way he was treated and stuff like that. And I think I agree to a degree with that stuff. And I just want him to, like, before he indefinitely leaves F1, I just want him to be in a competitive car and have some success. And I'm not saying like he has to race for a championship, but at least race for like the top 10 or something.
Yeah, like race
right?
competitively. Don't like have to retire the car or start from the back of the grid. Like he's such, I mean, it's really hard because, I mean, like a lot of these, I mean, all these drivers are clearly very good drivers.
You're
but
not
then
an F1 if you're not.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Even,
But yeah, even the people who are maybe aided by more money than others.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's like there's some people that I feel like automatically, or I at least root for more than I guess others, because everybody has their favorites. Like, don't tell me you don't, because you do. But yeah, I would love to see him longer in Formula One, and I really hope that he can have a little resurgence, because I feel like he deserves so much.
Yeah, I agree. I think so are we saying we're thinking Sargent is not going to be on the grid anymore next year? I think okay, so without trying to be a jerk, and of course, like, I wish all of these drivers that I'm about to list a good season, but I think definitely on the list is Sargent, right? We have Zhou Guan Yu on the list.
Magnussen potentially.
I don't know if Nico is a safe bet. He has been doing much better than Magnussen. He's qualifying much better. And last year he had definitely a better season. But I think all of those guys are, unfortunately, I think, on the list.
Yeah, however, I would, before you continue, I would say, like, for example, with like Haas and stuff like that, they would probably want to keep one senior driver, even if they, I guess, maybe take a different driver from the grid, because no team would probably take two rookies.
No, it's you need
somebody to kind of hold them by the hand or help them along a little bit or something. So I would imagine one of them stays unless there's, of course, I mean, so much can happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, definitely. I feel like Magnussen, Nico is also, I'm sure, at risk. I mean, everybody whose contract is out.
Did
next
you not
season.
hear the stories going around online that Vettel is coming back?
Oh my God. Part of me would love it, because he's so, like, such a good person. He's really fun. Of course, he's also great race car driver. I mean, you can't tell me he's not, because I mean, he,
4-time champion, right?
Exactly. And I mean, he just had the worst luck with Aston, that like when he leaves is when they like suddenly kick off.
We always talked about, imagine Vettel and Alonso. It would have been nice. But I would be surprised if Vettel would come back. And part of me is also like, I don't want people to come back. I want new people to get a chance.
Because I'm so excited.
I say that while I want Alonso in the car for 79.
I know. But I mean, I'm also excited for us to watch somebody come up as like the next Lewis Hamilton, the next Michael Schumacher, the next Verstappen, the next, like, you know, like to watch somebody now that we've also been watching excuse me, Formula 4, 3, 2, like see, like from all these people, because I mean, not all those drivers are going to ever make it into F1, but to see who kind of comes out and makes it, and then who will potentially be like a multiple time champion. That's also like a competitive season. So I'm very much looking forward to it. I know it's going to be 2 years until we probably get that much excitement in F1, but hopefully we'll get the new people in that will help make it exciting.
I think like without trying to be overtly negative, I think for the next 2 years we're just gonna have to make peace that off grid will be more exciting than on grid.
I mean, I know you always say that. And I mean, I agree with the first place and maybe even the first two with Checo driving really well now as well. But I feel like there's still excitement happening behind it.
But we're like 100 on it that Checo is leaving Red Bull, right?
I mean, in my mind, yes. I mean, I always thought there's somebody else coming.
I will say this, because we don't want this, of course, to only be F1 talk and stuff like that.
No.
But I read this today, and I thought it's very interesting, actually, that a lot of people, and I do that too, I sometimes talk a lot of stuff about like Checo and stuff like this, his performance. But we all have to realize, right, this is all in comparison to someone who is...
Oh, yes.
Is insanely good. And I don't want to be the person who's like, oh, Max Verstappen GOAT and whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because he's not there yet, right? But Max... Whether you're a fan of Red Bull, whether you're a Max Verstappen fan or something like that, without a doubt, you cannot say that, like, yes, he has the fastest car on the track, right? But you also have to win.
Be able to drive it,
right?
yeah.
And win, because Checo has not been doing that. Like last year, right? Max won easily, right? And he makes it look very easy, but it's also because he's so incredibly good, right?
Well, that's the reason.
And that's why Checo also looks... like a bad driver next to him.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like a bad driver, but he like, doesn't look...
but like he like people are saying like, yes, like he gets a lot of hate and stuff like that, because if you compare them, you know, Max makes him look like a worse driver than he is.
Yes.
You know?
No, of course. And I mean, I think that's why, at least I know I am for sure, and I'm sure many other people are as well, excited about the potential of a different driver for the second Red Bull seat, at least. I'm curious to see how other drivers would handle the vehicle and also drive compared to Verstappen. If there's could there be more competition, or is he really just that good? I mean, we know he's that good, but like, how close could it potentially be if somebody else potentially drives the Red Bull car? And I mean, it's also depending on the setups and of everything. Like, there's a lot that plays into it. But I would be really curious if we have somebody else in that seat, how they would fare compared to Max.
I just think it would be interesting to see him finally compete again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he loves winning. Yes. Like, who doesn't? But I'm sure he also wants to, like, be able to show off a little bit. Yeah,
or be challenged.
Exactly. Have somebody to defend to, have somebody to take over, or have a little, like you said, a challenge.
Yeah. Like someone like who will challenge him. And I'm not saying that this person will be better, but I think it's also like 2016 Mercedes, right? You had Lewis and you had Nico, right?
Yes.
Our favorite, even though he's German, right? But the thing about it is, like, they made each other better, right?
Yeah.
And it made it more interesting. Right?
Yes.
And it would be nice to see that within, like, see that, because like none of the other teams are gonna catch up to Red Bull. Let's be real. They're not gonna do it, and that's fine. We'll wait for 2026 to happen. Right? But it would be nice to at least have maybe some situation with Red Bull, especially because they already have so much drama off grid. Let's bring the drama on grid.
Yeah, I mean, that's I really want the drama on the grid. I don't want all that speculation. Like, yes, it's interesting to talk about it,
clearly,
of course, but I also want to talk about all the exciting on track action. Like, I think we still do have on track action. Like, yes, there could be more, especially because I would love to see more competition for the actual, like, podium places, or 1 and 2, which we don't have. But I feel like there's still, especially in the Jeddah race, the Bahrain was boring pretty much because they immediately like spread out. But Jeddah was really competitive for big chunks of it, which was exciting to watch.
Safety
nonetheless.
Car does help. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I don't want people to crash or whatever, but I like a good safety car.
Yes, as long as nobody get like injured or anything, like just something happened.
Safety car in here. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Just throw one in there every once in a while. Bunch up the field again. Make it interesting.
But yeah, I think that we'll wrap it up, because like these are all just speculation, stuff like that. But let us know in the comments down below what you guys thinking about the news, not just the F1 stuff, also obviously the stuff that we talked about earlier with we have a new rider for 250SX.
Yeah, MotoGP. We have the Autonomous Racing League.
Cadillac and the Maclaren situation. That's definitely something I'm going to keep my eye out.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, get in the comments, let us know. And then, as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe.
Yes, please.
And we will be seeing you guys here tomorrow at the Daily Racing Show, okay? You better tune in, okay?
Yes, please. Are you going to give your boosie? Bye, guys.
Turn it off.